I'm going to give it another minute for those of you that had joined us. Welcome to the Career Symposium. And we're going to give it just a couple of more minutes and then we're going to get started.
I'm going to try and clear out what's in my background now that I've seen what it is. I just clean things up a little. Hey.
Tim, where in Vermont are you?
We live in Newbury, so right on the Vermont-New Hampshire border, about halfway up.
Yeah, okay, wow.
Nice little small town.
That's great. Do you get out on the Connecticut River?
Okay. Occasionally, yeah, we do. Yep, we live right near it, so it's nice little boat landing near us.
Oh, that's great. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I want to welcome all of you attending to the annual St. Mike's Career Symposium, albeit this is the first annual virtual Career Symposium. So we're learning as we go, but we've got a great panel of finance and accounting for you tonight. And we would encourage all of you to look up these panelists on SMC Connect. And if you want to take this conversation offline afterwards and use them as a resource, please get on SMC Connect and reach out to them that way. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have each of them tell us a little bit about themselves, what their career path post St. Mike's look like, and what their current day job looks like. We've got Jenna Carroll from the class of '92. She was a business administration major and is the managing partner of the Carroll Group at Merrill Lynch Wealth Management. We have Meghan McCormack from 2011. She is an insurance manager at Ernst & Young and her major was accounting. And last but not least, Tim Ross from 2003. He was a double major business and accounting and is the chief financial officer and director of human resources at the Aloha Foundation. So Jenna, why don't you take it away?
All right, well, I guess, right out of college, I actually went to work in finance. This is what you want me to do, right? Talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right out of college, I got into finance. I went into, a smaller investment firm called Grunthal and Company. And I started out as an assistant. And, I quickly learned the business and, had some great mentors and I actually worked for, one of the first female financial advisors in Boston. And she encouraged me to go on and get licensed and, become more than just an assistant and become a financial advisor. And that's really how I got started. And then, from there, I went to work for Fidelity for a brief stint, and then actually Morgan Stanley. I went through their training program, and just started down the career path of being a wealth manager. And it's been a great career for me. As just give you a little bit of background, I'm actually a mom too. I have twin 10-year-olds, and getting started in the business so early was nice. Just it is not, I think, an easy career path in some ways because you have to build your business and you kind of got to start from the bottom, and there's a lot of long hours, and it's not always probably making I definitely saw a lot of my friends making a lot more than me early on, but I stuck with it. And I've been with Merrill now 22 years and built a great practice for myself. I have a team of 7, and it's something that I really love to do. I got my CFP in 2000. If any of you are thinking that you want to go and get your graduate degree, one regret that I had is I do have my MBA in finance, and I could have gone through a program at BU where I could have combined my MBA with getting my CFP simultaneously, which would have been great had I thought of it. But, on my team, I do planning for the group. So it's my partner, Josh, and I, and he manages more portfolio, more analytics. And I do relationship management and financial planning for clients. So, my career path is, I started at the bottom, honestly, and I stuck with it. So for someone in my field to be with the same firm for 22 years I'm kind of a unicorn in that sense. But I started actually with Bank of America Investments. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. Fleet Securities, which became Quick and Riley, which became, Fleet Bank, Bank of America Investments, and ultimately in '08, as you recall, Bank of America bailed out Merrill Lynch. So I became a Merrill Lynch advisor since '08. So um, I don't know, it's been a great, it's really been a great career for me as, as a mom too, and having a lot of flexibility. But, that said, the flexibility comes maybe 15 years down the road, I guess. But I think as far as finance goes, it's a path where you might not start out as strong as you'd like to, but if you have this hard work ethic and you're willing to build and grow and kind of stick with something, I'm working for myself always. So when I'm working late and maybe missing out on, you know, getting to go to a kid's soccer game, which doesn't happen that often at this point, but I know that I'm working for myself. So it's always my business. So I think that's kind of nice about it. I don't work for anybody, which is nice. So
That's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Megan, why don't you give us an idea of what your career path looked like?
All right. So my career path post St. Mike's has always been with Ernst & Young, but I've definitely had the benefit of moving around a lot and having a lot of different experiences. I will say I did get my master's in business, my MBA right after I graduated, which I took time up until about 2013, at which point I joined Ernst & Young in their Boston office. I work in the assurance service line of the firm. And assurance is basically a fancy name for audit. So I am basically a manager in the audit practice. I work in what we call the FSO, which is the financial services office. So that means that all of the clients that we serve are financial services based. So that's either insurance clients, wealth and asset management, or banking and capital markets clients. I mentioned I started in the Boston office. I actually started with the insurance group. So Boston does have a pretty strong kind of insurance footprint up there in terms of clients. The main client that I worked on was Liberty Mutual Insurance. So right out of the gate, I was able to work on a huge team, huge client, obviously, very multinational. And I think to get to see how a company like that kind of operates was pretty exciting, even as the little fledgling staff that I was. About 2.5 years ago, the firm asked if anyone was interested in moving to Dallas for a new client that the firm won. So the firm won General Motors as a client in 2017. I personally am a huge car person. I love the automotive industry, love cars. So GM's captive finance company, General Motors Financial, is headquartered in Fort Worth, Texas. So for me, it was kind of the perfect opportunity for me to kind of marry my financial services experience with something that I'm actually kind of passionate about. So the firm moved me down here 2.5 years ago, and I've kind of been working down here on GMF ever since. So that was one of the best things about working at a big firm like that is kind of the mobility opportunities and things like that. So here I am.
Yeah, that's great. How exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah. Tim, do you want to give us an idea of what your path looked like?
Sure. So I started out in public accounting as well, working for a small firm in West London, New Hampshire, and then eventually decided it was time to get to Boston. And so soon after that, moved to Boston, and using my connections through St. Mike's alumni, was able to have a few choices of firms to work for down there, and spent roughly 5 years in the public accounting world before I sort of decided it was time to think about doing something different. So again, luckily at that time had a friend who was recruiting at Mass General Hospital, and my focus in public accounting had really been in the nonprofit healthcare world. And so it was a good fit, and I switched over to Mass General and spent roughly 5 years there working for some of their large departments in their finance groups. After that, my wife and I decided it was time to move back to the area where we are now. And so I moved to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center, spent 5 years in their internal audit and the clinical trials offices, and I really got some great experience there as well before moving to the Aloha Foundation. And the Aloha Foundation is a series of summer camps where we run 6 different camps, 3 residential summer camp for kids, a day camp in the summer, as well as a family camp and a outdoor center. So we have a nice large endowment that's thankfully kept us going during this COVID period where we weren't able to run camps this summer, and we're really a big player in the camping industry as well. So it's been a fun learning experience. Learning human resources has been an interesting world for me. Not generally what accountants want to do, but I've been saddled with it, so that's been fun. And yeah, it's been a great experience. I would say throughout, I have leaned heavily on the St. Mike's Alumni Network to really help me find roles as I've needed them, which has been great.
And that's great to hear. Thanks, Tim. Jenna, can you give us an idea of what a typical day looks like for you? How much of it is, are you on the phone, client facing? What does that look like for you?
Well, in COVID times, you're looking at my Charlestown office here in downtown Boston. I would say, a lot, definitely the last, 6 to 9 months has been a lot of talking with clients, actually a lot more behavioral finance than I would like, but in these kind of, stressful market conditions and, being in the middle of a pandemic and, with everyone having the added stress back in March of portfolios, going down aggressively. I think it's just, I have time talking to clients, more about life events, like, what's really going on in their lives. I've been doing this for 22 years, so some of my clients have been with me for that long. And, just talking them through, like, what are the retirement scenarios looking like? And can I retire early? And, hey, I don't really like, this work from home COVID situation. Can I, a lot of my clients that are in healthcare, they're looking to, retire a lot sooner than they had planned. So for my role and what I do is I do the planning for the team. So I'm really looking at the big picture, pulling in a lot of their inputs and running various scenarios and kind of different black swans that might come into their world, and just kind of talking them through life, really. I feel like sometimes I'm a financial life coach at this point. Now, my partner Josh, on the other hand, is more modeling portfolios and handling more of the asset allocation and kind of the construction of their actual investment portfolio. But I've always loved working with people and connecting with people. And I think the two of us being a male female team, we kind of I think we kind of cast a wider net. And these days, obviously people are worried about, I say health is the new wealth. It's been a crazy year, and
Right.
People are worried, and a lot of times it's more about their kids and how are their kids doing, and how can we support them. And so just I spend a lot of time talking. I talk on the phone. I basically talk to clients. I talk to people for a living is what I do. So if you enjoy talking to people and connecting with people, I think this is a great career track for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Megan, what does a typical day look like for you? I'm curious.
Yes, the sexy audit label, I get that a lot. So it really isn't sort of us kind of swoop the end of the year and ticking and tying and making sure their financials look right, basically. So, depending on kind of the size of the team that you're on, especially on the bigger clients, we are pretty much exclusively client facing. All the teams that I have worked on, we sit at the client site all the time. You might spend some time in kind of the office, but typically you're sitting with the client, you're working with their staff and their analysts and their internal audit group. We very much work with them kind of lockstep throughout the year. Like I said, this isn't like a couple months a year gig. We're pretty much with them every step of the way, especially those bigger clients, the Liberties, the General Motors. Obviously, it's a huge undertaking. And we really do, I think, kind of serve almost in kind of like an advisor capacity in some sense for them as well, helping them kind of think through accounting decisions that make sense, and, you know, making sure obviously that they are doing everything they should be doing and things like that. But again, also the other plus of kind of being on the larger teams is you really have a good sense of camaraderie. We typically sit in a big audit room, and there's can be anywhere from 10 to 20 people there on a given day. So every day definitely looks different, and it's for sure never boring. So I very much enjoy it.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim, I imagine you're wearing a whole bunch of different hats each day.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, some days I may be, you know, booking journal entries, and other days I may be renewing employee benefits. So we've had a lot of, you know, there's a lot of different things I do each day, which is great. You know, the executive director and I have really been spending lots of time recently planning our path forward and what we want the foundation to look like as we sort of approach this whole new world with COVID involved. But we also, it's fun. I still get to get into the weeds with accounting from time to time, and you know, make sure we're booking things appropriately. I have a strong relationship with our external auditors, which is always fun, and the experience I had on the audit world lets me sort of understand where they may be coming from with some of the issues as well. So, you know, yeah, I mean, most of my day is spent right here in this chair on Zoom, but we're doing, you know, lots of great things. So. And we're really looking forward to a time where we can be back on campus and hear the kids laughing and all the joy that comes with it. So
Yeah.
Someday soon.
Absolutely. Let's hope so. So we're going to get to the questions now. And the first one is advice on getting internships, and whether you had internships while you were at St. Mike's or whether your organization offers internships. I know it's certainly a very hot topic at many higher ed institutions. So if you can give any advice to the students listening on how they can go about getting an internship, and how they can put themselves in the best light possible to get that opportunity.
I can start if you want.
All right.
Okay. So I know at Merrill Lynch, I could say my team, we have an intern every semester, although, you know, we're taking a pause for this semester. So we do at Merrill Lynch, some of the teams have individual internships, but I know there's a really strong summer program. If you go onto the Bank of America website, it's pretty competitive, and I think it's an 8-week program. It's very structured. There's a lot to it. And I know that, you know, that's a place where a lot of internships have happened, and it's really an entree into the business. If you do well, you know, they definitely want to keep you on and try to place you after, if you're actually a senior, or, you know, oftentimes I think you can do it as a sophomore or junior as well. But I think it's a very structured program. You know, again, is that happening, you know, this summer? That's kind of tough to say, but I know that I've worked with the St. Mike's Career Center in the past and put postings. And I think internships are a great way to, you know, for you to test out whether it's something you want to be doing,
Right.
you know, and kind of get a chance to pick the brains of people that are in a role that you think you might want to be in, and kind of see it from the inside out.
Mhm.
So we do a lot with it, actually.
That's great. What about Megan, Tim? Do you guys have any advice for the students listening?
Sure, I can go. Definitely kind of echo Jenna's sentiments. I think an internship is a great way for you guys to see if it's a good fit. And I think that's also very important, especially, you know, in public accounting. I'm sure everyone's heard it's not, you know, it's not a 9 to 5. It can be a little bit tough. So I think to get a sense and get a feel for that, I think is very helpful. I know EY does, you know, tons of internship programs. They do them kind of all year round. They have summer programs. They have busy season internships. If you're interested in making some overtime money, would highly recommend. And that really, I think, gives you a glimpse into kind of how things can look in the busy season. But absolutely highly recommend for sure.
That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, I would just echo all of that. I think I did a few internships when I was in college. It certainly gave me a great insight into, what I did and didn't want to do as I graduated. And even if you decide or the fit isn't right for you in that company, if you do well and you leave with a recommendation, it doesn't hurt, right? I mean, so all of those things I highly recommend. I worked with actually, so I had some help from several of the professors on campus who helped me find some internships, which was great. And I would say rely on your network there. It's always a good thing.
Yeah, Tim, Professor Levtowski is saying you still owe some assignments. He's
I saw that note. That's probably 100% true. He's probably not the only professor on campus who I still owe things to, but that's okay. I still got my diploma. That's all that matters.
That's right. That's right. Tim, I'm going to follow up with that. There was a question on what is there for accounting majors that don't want to pursue the CPA exam?
Yeah, so I think that's it's a good point, and I think you can easily fall into that category or that thought that I'm going to be an accountant, and that means I'm going to be in public accounting, and for some people it's great, and for some it's not. And I encourage everyone to understand that if you have a degree in general, you're always going to have options available to you. For every person who is in the CPA world, there's got to be someone on the other side doing the work at the company too. And so you may not need your CPA to do it. I have my master's in accounting. I was lucky enough to be able to go to Northeastern and get that after graduating. That has certainly served me well. But additionally, I think, there are plenty of companies out there who need good accountants. And I loved my time in public accounting, but I reached a point where the travel and everything else just didn't fit my lifestyle anymore. And I was able to move to, working for several large hospitals, getting some amazing accounting experience, that I wouldn't, that was great. So I would say, don't feel like you have to be pigeonholed into the CPA world, but certainly. But that being said, if I could go back to 25-year-old Tim and say, hey, go listen for your stupid exam, I would probably do it just to have it on my resume, right? I mean, there's that part of it too.
Sure. Megan, do you want to chime in on that as well?
Sure. I mean, definitely kind of piggyback off of what Tim said. I mean, there's certainly plenty out there. I mean, the corporate world, like you mentioned, that might be a very good fit for people. But I will honestly kind of follow up on Tim's. I will make a plug for the CPA exam. I think especially if you can do it right out of school, I think it just gives you a little bit kind of more flexibility. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Don't wait until you're 40 with 2 kids. That's never the right time.
Jenna, we have a question for you. They're asking, what are the first steps you would recommend a newly graduated student take if they were interested in financial advising / wealth management? For example, specific exams to be studying for and/or experience employers would like to see.
Well, I have to say, I think Merrill Lynch does a really great job with, kind of having entry level positions, and, that can turn into something more. I personally started out as a client associate, which is, really the most entry level position you can be in. But I do think that's a great way to learn the business. You get to talk to clients, you're the front lines, you get to learn the business when you don't have the pressure of, having to get new clients and, feel like you are trying to, start your own practice. So the client associate role is a great entree into the business. And Merrill also does a great job. They have what's called a team financial advisor, a TFA position, where, if you have an interest in financial services, you get to go down the training program path, but not being all by yourself, trying to raise $10 million in assets when you're, 22 years old, 23 years old. So you basically choose a major. So I currently have a TFA working with me, and her major is relationship management, and she's studying for a CFP, and she's amazing. I mean, she's my right hand person, and she's kind of like a mini me, and I try to coach her and train her as much as I can. And she's learning the business, and she's getting, paid a decent salary while it's happening. And the idea is that hopefully she'll be invaluable to me, and after her training program's over, I'll want her. I
Right.
will, by the way, Jess, if you're listening.
That's
but
great.
but I do think, I mean, we're a bigger firm, so we definitely have different pathways into the business. But the other
Mhm.
thing I like about Merrill is if you start down this path and decide, hey, maybe I want to become an analyst, or maybe I want to do something else. It's such a big firm that once you're in, there's a lot of different things. Like maybe you want to go into financial services marketing, or there's a lot of different
Right.
directions you can take your career, because who really knows exactly what they want to do. I mean, I personally, like I said, I stumbled into it. I really answered an ad for a licensed financial advisor, and I was neither of those, nor licensed or a financial advisor. And I ended up being an assistant, and here I am. So it's been a great career for me. And I'm not I mean, people will argue what's the future of financial services and wealth management, but I just think people are always going to value advice, and they're always going
Sure.
to value a person to actually talk to.
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. I think we've got time for one more question here. Megan, I'm going to have you start out with this one. We've got a question here. As a data science major here at St. Mike's, I was wondering if you guys could talk about how data is incorporated into your professions.
Sure. Um, so data could not be more huge for both EY as a kind of standalone firm and for the clients. I know my firm personally has invested, like tens and tens of millions of dollars into data analytics over the last several years, in developing tools that we can then use to provide our client with, insights related to data and how their company is working and how they're processing data. I would say it's probably the number one kind of most valued skill that we see in new staff coming in, especially as us older folks age up. I mean, some of the things that we are seeing people that can do with data and analytics is absolutely astonishing. So if it's something that interests you, cannot encourage you strongly enough to kind of get involved and kind of get well versed. It's definitely an excellent differentiator for the younger folks. Again, a public accounting firm, or just even any of the big companies. Huge differentiator. I also know EY, we have teams specifically that are not auditors or advisors, but they work exclusively with data analytics and help support us auditors and the teams that I'm on, to help us kind of work through data and analytics and processing all of that. So tons and tons and tons of opportunity there for sure.
That's great. Tim, what about you? I would imagine you guys have a lot of data that you pour over. Any insights because you're at now a smaller organization, but it's still probably just as important.
Yeah, I would say for us, it's our lifeblood. So we, for how we do our business, and whether or not, and sorry, I just got a message saying my internet's unstable, but whether or not, the joys of Vermont, the whether or not we know, if programs are being affected, if people are attending our programs, we use data daily. And what Megan just said is 100% correct. Without folks who know how to parse and manipulate and interpret the data, we're sort of out of luck, and we have trouble finding people who are able to actually do that work. And so even for those of us we're a smaller company, we have 35 to 40 employees. We need that skill set to be able to do, to be effective. And so if you're interested in it, I would highly recommend you go in that career path, because you're going to be certainly well thought of as you get into the market for sure.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Tim. So we're right up against the time here. So I want to thank our three awesome panelists, Jenna, Tim, Megan. Thank you so much on behalf of the alumni board, all the students online watching right now. We really can't thank you enough. And for all the students watching, please connect with them offline if we didn't get to all the questions. So certainly feel free to reach out to these folks and contact them to get your questions answered. So again, the three of you, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you for
us.
having
Thanks for having
us.
us.
Thanks. Thanks, Greg.
Bye.
Bye-bye.